Wagwan, are you there? What's good? And you know who this is, baby. The number one podcast in America, dedicated to all you kings and queens of color, homies and homettes, shotters, woo gals, G-boys, and charges. The one and only Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast.
Wagwan, are you there? What's good? And welcome to episode 13 of the Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast. I'm your host, Glenn, aka G Ransom, and today's panel discussion will be centered around love and married life, the male perspective. Today's discussion will be broken down into two parts. First, a general discussion on partner selection and married life, and lastly, a few rounds of hit or miss, where the married men of the panel will be asked to validate or debunk common preconceived notions about marriage and married life.
Oh boy.
It'd be a good one. And yes, 4 out of the 5 are in fact married. And I'm just considered lucky to be hosting this particular segment.
Learning vicariously through the rest of the team.
Exactly. That's each one to each one. So before we delve any further, if you aren't already a follower, like to learn more about the show, definitely check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at JJC Podcast, where you can stay up to date on our latest offerings, announcements, and join the JJC community. Now, if you know anything about this show, you know that we are the most seasoned and rhythmically inclined panel podcast the world has yet to discover. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce my brothers in bond, aka the JJC panel, starting with Mr. I Don't Eat Jello, I Wear It, and pod originator D Black.
Yo, what up, yo?
You can't let that one down. That one's gonna follow you.
Yo, I'm the Jello man for the rest of my life, apparently. So.
We're making men sexy again. It's all good.
Oh man.
Next, we have the angriest black man we could find, and Taskmaster Chunks.
That's fitting.
You're fucking right.
Damn. Let's just get it off the books early. He's like, I'm gonna drop F-bombs and bombs. Like,
This probably just be the only one for a minute.
Nah, we'll see. Let's see.
Well, you own the mantle of anger. It's okay.
Hold that counter. Ding.
That's one.
Next up, we have the plug, the franchise, our specialist in all things gnome, and our social media assassin, Francis.
What's up, yo? I don't know about all of that, but yeah.
He's like, all things gnome.
It's okay. It's, you're just giving things. You just have to honor it. It's okay.
Yeah, I'll take it then.
My turn is coming. My turn is coming. Our in-house creative, half Boricua, half amazing Dre P.
Year was a lot of fun photoshopping the Nigerian fabrics on the gnome. A couple of podcasts or a couple of social media posts ago. So hope everyone got a kick out of that.
Yeah, and everyone gets their birthday image as well. And I'm just waiting for mine. It's coming up in a few months. A long time from now, but Dre's on point with that.
Yeah, 6 months of planning. You're screwed.
Like, how many dicks can I find to put his face on?
Oh my God.
Not even 5 minutes in. Here we go.
Wow.
And that also gets ding.
Icebreaker.
I normally try to keep the Photoshops PG, but maybe I'll have to make it an exception for you.
Selassie, you gotta keep it authentic, man.
I'll send Dre the troll thing we were using. We'll just Photoshop your face on that.
That could work too. I'll take it. And of course, last but not least, myself, of course, Glenn, aka G Ransom, aka Selassie, Mr. Rubber Waste, your host, and you can find me on Instagram at G.
Oh, that rubber waist was weak. No, that rubber waist was weak.
It was weak.
Yeah, man.
And this rubber waist. You know what
I mean? More fire.
Don't encourage it.
It's all good.
You guys can't see him, but he probably got a mesh marina underneath his shirt right now. Ready to go.
I got the Jamaican knapsack ready to go. It's summer. It's getting hot. Well, it's not summer.
We got to post that on Instagram, man.
Oh, that mesh marina. That wasn't even a mesh marina. That was like a mesh prince. Like, I don't know what that was. It was like a long sleeve hot situation.
So there's like a way you have to wear the mesh marina. So there's like a certain style. I thought it was just all mesh t-shirt. That's it. Doesn't matter what it looks like.
Nah, it's one particular. It could be the red, gold, and green mesh marina, or it can be the gold, green, and black mesh marina. It just has to be exceedingly
Can it be like a
long.
pink mesh marina?
No, it's not. that won't make it to the knapsack. It has to go past your waist towards, like right above your knees. You got to wear the Rasta belt. You got to have on some ripped, torn jeans and some, chancletas, whatever, some flip flops.
Yeah.
I just this got bad.
But yeah, you can find me and all of my, Jamaican fits at G_ransom on Instagram. Find me, check me out. I'll upload something special for y'all so y'all can see it firsthand.
Oh no.
But before we jump into the topic, we'd like to dedicate this episode's Rep Your Business Creative or Industry Pro to Savoir Faire, which is a Black-owned fragrance, fashion, accessory, and apparel brand. And all their offerings appear to be signature handmade blends. It looks like they have the goods for both men and women. So you can definitely check them out at Savoir Faire. That's SAVOIRFAIRE.store, or check them out on Instagram at My Savoir Faire. All right, so as we mentioned it, today's discussion will be broken into two segments, starting with our general Q&A before we get into the hit or miss. So let's just go around the table, go around the panel, and let's talk about first, how long have you guys been married and how did you meet your spouse? So I guess we'll start off with seniority here. And I believe Dre's the one that has the most time in the marriage game.
I think so. As of the time of recording this podcast, yesterday was my wife and I's 6-year wedding anniversary. So we've been married 6 years, together for 11. I waited 5 years to get married, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about a little bit later. But yeah, that's 6 years. I think I have the lead.
Okay, of the crew. I think the next senior would be Mr. Chunks. No?
No.
Okay. So
I think it's actually might be like a 3-way tie, right? Between Chunks, myself, and Francis.
Yeah, I'm
He's definitely the baby.
I'm the baby of the group.
Yeah, so I probably might be second then, right? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Who keeps track of these things?
Seriously.
Your wife. Your wife.
Definitely not Chunky.
I keep track, but at the end of the day, this is none of y'all's business. So.
That part. So, well, D, let's get into it. How long you've been married and how did you meet your partner?
So soon, actually, in a few months will be like 2 years. But we've actually been together for a minute, so I don't even, to be honest, she's not the type to give me a hard time about it, but it's been a long time, and I really don't know how long. When it's been that long, when they, I forgot, it was an old joke where they would say, like, it's a long time when they take the 4 off of that thing, instead they just say ever, instead of forever. But yeah, we've been together for a minute. So how did we meet? So we met through my sisters, because they actually all went to school together. They're all really close. And then actually, real, can I tell a story of how we met then? Yeah, real deep. All right, bet. So it was funny because so she was waiting at the bus stop with one of her friends. Mind you, I didn't even know her, but I knew the other girl that was with her. She was another one of my sister's friends, right? And mind you, I was just, in that area, there's not a lot of buses. So I'm so you literally have to wait for the bus for 2 hours, 3 hours before you get a ride. And I was like, I bet. I saw them and I was like, all right, let me give them a ride on the bus. Let me give them a ride so they don't have to wait for the bus. And I was like, all right, bet. I pulled over. I was like, hey,
so games.
Nah, man, but yo,
ride, baby.
Yo, that sounds kind of sus, though. Yo, get in my van. And it's funny because I drove a van at the time, so it's real sus, bro. But
did it have free candy on the side of it?
Bro, stop it. You delving into something dangerous. But real talk. So I was like, let me give him a ride real quick. I was going towards that town. And then her friend was always super friendly, whatever. But my girl, she's if she don't know you, and Selassie, you gonna have to, Selassie G Ransom, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but is it a Jamaican thing that if you don't know somebody, you don't acknowledge them or something?
I wouldn't say. It depends on the Kingston people tend to do that. So we got to break down the ethnicities of Jamaicans, right? Well, they're kind of broken down by geography, but some people can be like that, but most people that I've known, not usually. But it could be that, you know, it was your sister's friend. Usually there's some kind of code there, like, hey, you know, you don't really want to get involved with your friend's brother. So that's kind of like a
Nah, but like not even say hello. You can't say hello. You know what I mean? Like I was saying what's up to her friend, and then I turned to my girl. I mean, well, she wasn't my girl at the time, but I turned to her, I was like, hello. And she was like, she literally looked at me mad slow. She had these big ass sunglasses on, looked at me, she's like, straight up disregarded me. And I was like, all right, bet, whatever. I'm gonna give him a ride anyway. But it was like, no, they're good. They don't need to ride. The bus is about to be here in 10 minutes or whatever. And mind you, never had any interest in her whatsoever. And then like months later, you know, she started like I actually got like to know her real personality, like not the front that she puts on. And then I was like, oh, she's mad chill, she's mad caring, she's mad loving, she's family oriented, all the things that I like to see in a woman. And then that's kind of how we drew to each other. But yeah, if we ain't get another second chance to like really see how each other work, oh no, there's no way that would have worked.
So I guess you weren't scared to date, like, or to be with your sister's friend. Like once you get in, it's like no escape.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that.
No, that's a really good
How that came about.
No, that's a really good question, because I think at first, I don't know, like I've always, I don't know, maybe it's just weird. Maybe for most people it's not, but for me it was kind of like, nah, you know, like you're my sister's friend, I'm not interested. I wouldn't even talk to my sister's friends, you know, just like I wouldn't want them to talk to my friends, you know, like Mr. Rubber Waistline. Oh hell no. Yo, if any of my sisters approach me about talking to Selassie, that would be a hell no. Like,
damn, I gotta get shot. You want me to? I'll be your real brother.
A brother.
Yeah, he could be your friend, but he can't date your sister. Come on, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't trust him.
Don't you trust me, bro?
Nah, he be talking about this. Oh, son, I know how his man. That junk is too elastic. That rubber band. I'm good. I don't need that.
Oh, that's
Wow.
But
crazy. So
yeah.
let's get into Francis's spiel then.
Yeah, so like you guys say, I'm the baby of the group. You know, I feel like I'm the baby of the group for a lot of things. So, but yeah, me and my wife, we actually are COVID, hashtag COVID bride, COVID wedding. We got married a year ago. So we are still, you know, still very new, you know, and we met actually in college. So it's kind of crazy because her childhood friend was dating my college roommate at the time. And she came and visit. She came to my school to visit one time. And I wasn't there because I traveled back home at the time. But my roommate was like, yo, so-and-so friend came in town and she was looking good, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who's this girl? So I had to kind of like search upon her, and I was like, oh, okay, she's cute. So, but we never actually became friends. And so we just knew each other. We see each other here and there. So we actually went to Minnesota State Fair. My roommate and her actually ended up getting married. So they were dating ever since college and kept dating after college. So we all kind of still hung out. So State Fair happened. You know, I was like kicking it where I was like, oh, she's really cool. So that was the first time I actually spoke to her after knowing her for like a few years. So I got the number, and that was pretty much the wrap. And, you know, we hung out, and a few years later, we were engaged and married. So,
Yo, funny thing, funny thing, because I'm not going to front. I ain't never thought I was like, this man gonna get married maybe like 50.
Hey, you know what? To be honest, we always talk about it, because when we started dating or talking, we were just like, I wasn't looking for anything. We were just friends. You know, we hung out. You know, I was towards the tail end of doing my master's, so I was really focused on school, and I wasn't really even going out much. But she was there for me actually when I needed someone there the most. So I was bringing over food and making sure I was good. You know, so it was like after I was done with college, I actually met her, you know, at my graduation, so that was kind of what kind of solidified it for me. You know, I was like, okay, she's a real one. I need to.
So she saved you from a life of thotting and botting out there, right?
That's not it. It was just like having just someone who actually care and actually goes out of their way to like want to see you, even though you kind of want to push them away. So like, because she knew where I was at the time, and she still made the effort to make sure we spent time together.
So one thing you also mentioned was that you had a COVID marriage. How was that?
Yeah, it was crazy, man. So we actually moved our wedding date a couple times because of COVID, but we made it happen, man.
It was
I'm
beautiful.
glad we
Beautiful.
did. Yeah, thank you, because I'm glad we did it. Because initially because we didn't really know too much, with COVID and everything going on, we had to cut the guest list, by half. After guests, we had to cut after the guests, but we still had a pretty decent sized wedding actually, which is still crazy. But
And, African weddings be like 500 to 600 people. So
for real, man,
Half
I'm
the
not.
country to the wedding.
Low key, man. To be honest, we wanted to just do we wanted to do Jamaican wedding actually, since we got married in Jamaica. But African parents, man, were like, no, we not going there. I was like, all right, bet, say less. Anyway,
no destination. Yeah.
So I guess I'll ask you guys this question off the cuff real quick. Would you guys say that marriage starts at the wedding, or is it like the time that you spend?
Man, just skip over me for the question. Okay.
Oh, because you didn't initially answer the first one, so I thought you were like, okay.
I was just gonna wait and stand by. It's all right. You can skip.
Oh no, go ahead.
I thought you wanted to be skipped on that.
Nah, I don't mind being skipped. I'm not gonna give you the amount of time. I fall in the range between Francis and Dre, so everyone else figured that out.
-1, carry the 5, divided by 3.
Like long enough.
I met my wife in high school, and it was interesting. So like the first day I saw her, I was like, oh, she's cute. And what I did was introduce myself. I laid across her desk. It was like, what's up? And she just looked at me and just like turned her head. I was like, oh, you're gonna be like that? So
that's what we call game. That's game right there.
Back in those days.
Yeah. There was no swipe left or swipe right. You actually had to go and talk to somebody. So we know each other for a little bit, and we were talking and we dated in high school, and then she said she was done with me and didn't want to date me anymore, and that kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And then in college I tried to talk to her. She was like, nah, I'm good. You're not good enough for me yet. So I'm just like, damn. So she ended up calling me one day. It was like, hey, do you want to date me? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I sound like a simp at this point, but I mean, that's how that worked. And we just ended up hanging out, and it ended up being an awesome relationship. So we've known each other for a long time. We've done a lot of things, seen a lot of things together, and she took good care of me. So there's no complaints on that end. So there's that story.
That's someone for everyone.
That's fire.
Like, you may not want me now, but you're gonna want me later.
You feel that, girl? You feel that? That's husband material. You just don't know it yet.
I'm a wait.
She said level up first. And come out at me.
Hey,
So
man,
I'll
be
get
like
back
that.
to the off the cuff question, but I think one thing, I think that's a mystery for a lot of people, and something that a lot of women complain about is usually making the initiative or push to get married. So I guess, when did you guys know you were ready to get married? Like, what was that trigger point that said, all right, now's the time?
I'll go first because I actually have like a very specific time point in my relationship with my wife where she was very eager to get married. So as I mentioned, we didn't get engaged until us being together for 4 years. So my parents went through a really kind of bad divorce. And I think as a result, I kind of had I had an approach of like, I'm not going to get married until I know for sure that this person is the right one. And I guess I always had like, I don't think I necessarily had like a time in mind, but I think in my head is like, I just want to make sure we can go through as much stuff as possible to make sure that this is going to be the right one for me. Right. So, I think we pretty much like moved in together. Like, I think after only living together for 3 months or only dating for 3 months. So we moved pretty quick. And yeah, there was just one time where she's just on the couch and she's just like, I need to know where this is going. Are we going to get married? Whatever. And I'm like, of course we're going to get married. In my head, I'm like, yeah, of course we're going to get married. I'm just not ready yet. And I'm just like, my parents went through a lot of stuff, obviously some therapy kind of sorted some of those issues that I had, but I still wanted to be really certain. So I really made I really made her wait, and it wasn't until our fourth fourth like anniversary of our first date, where I was like, okay, we're going to DR. Let me like make sure, like, let me get the ring, let me do all that stuff. And that was a really fun experience. But I kind of always had a feeling that I would marry her, but I really just wanted to make sure that that she was going to be the right person for me, that I was going to be the right person for her, right? That I could really kind of because I still feel this way, but I kind of see marriage as something where it's not just like, hey, if I don't like you anymore, like, let's just break up, right? Like I don't kind of foresee it that way. So I really kind of took it really seriously, and I really just didn't want to be in a situation where if we had kids, I didn't want to kind of put my children through that. And obviously, I can't speak through, I can't see into the future. But whatever criteria I had at my time, at the time, I think she checked all those boxes. We went through enough stuff to kind of know that she was going to be the right one for me, and I could be the right person for her as well.
Okay, so would you put like in any type of time frame on it then? Like, I guess for at least for you, how long did it take you to know?
Well, the thing is also we were a little older, so I met my wife when I was 25, turning 26. So we didn't get married until I was 30. So I think by that point I had been in enough relationships where I kind of knew some of the warning signs, right? Or things that I knew that I wasn't going to like in a partner. Or whatever. So I don't think there's necessarily a time on it. I do think probably if you're older, I think you're going to know sooner. But
damn, I'm 30, about to be 35.
Yeah, but I think
say 25 is old. I'm like, damn, I'm behind the ball.
we'll be turning the microphone to you and putting you on the hot seat at some point during this podcast. But for me, I knew that there wasn't going to be anyone else there was no one else who I ever thought about. I just knew she was the right one. I don't know how else to explain it. It was just kind of like I know it sounds super cheesy or whatever, but honestly, that's just like, just having silly conversations with her, right? Laughing about the dumbest stuff. Like I just felt a connection with her that I haven't felt with anyone else. And for me, that's how I knew it was like, there's something different about this. And I want to make sure that I don't lose her, right? Because that could also be the chance as well. I think there's a lot of people who kind of wait to, and they lose opportunities. Luckily, Chunky mentioned, that, luckily he got his chance, right? His partner could have not circled back around to him, right? Or maybe flip side, D Black, right? Maybe D Black could have been so turned off by that first interaction with his now wife that that he didn't circle back. So to anyone listening, if you're with someone and you care about them, especially after going through all this COVID stuff, if you don't know by now, if you don't know with the person that you're dating now that they need to be the one, I don't know what to tell you. You should know by now. With all
I was
this
gonna
stuff.
say, if you're listening to this with your partner, turn to them and say,
yeah,
where is this going?
yeah.
Oh, yo, what we doing? We setting these dudes
Sorry,
up.
man. I'm gonna get.
Don't do that.
Oh man, my
Don't put
DMs
the
is gonna be
man-
flooded by men trashing me. But
Yo,
that goes
Don't
to
do
both
that
sides.
to our single boys, to our single
Yeah.
men out there.
No. So here it
Have
is,
that
right?
conversation
So
with
like,
yourself.
you're trying to like protect these people that are like playing games, and it's just like if they hit with the real question, like where are we going, what are we doing, then they're gonna have to answer it.
Yeah,
If-
but you don't have to. I mean, if you're not ready, you're not ready. You can't.
You-
force
you-
that.
You can
Do
do
you
what I
say
did.
you're not ready?
Yeah,
But
you can do what I did.
you're pitching it like they don't have to answer the question. I'm putting them in hot water. Like, all right, you're a grown ass man, right? Or you're a grown ass individual. So it's go time. Answer the question and be mature. Because
I
if
mean,
you
like,
don't-
but there's a thing though. I know we're gonna get to this. Not marriages. You don't have to get married.
I didn't,
Yeah,
but
not
that's
like
not
that.
all right. Listen to what I'm saying, because you're over here defending people. So
I'm not defending. No, I ain't
bots.
What you mean?
Pump the
I'm
brakes on
just-
it now,
right,
because
come
you have to
on.
look at it
Come
from the
on.
other side of the spectrum, right?
I
So if
feel
you're the
it.
person waiting for that person to make a decision, and they're just like, "Well, I don't want to answer the question," stop wasting someone else's time. Don't
Yeah,
do that to that person. If you
That's
don't know, say, "I don't know. I need time to figure it out."
Yeah.
Just like Dre said, he was like, "I'm going to get married, but now it's just not the right time." I think
Yeah.
that's the perfect answer. There's
Okay,
one thing in
so
life you don't get
I
back.
do. I
it's
do
time.
agree with that though. And so, how do you think women should should?
Let's hear Chunky's take on that first, though. So, Chunky, when did you know you were ready? Did you hear those 4 dreaded words, or was it just like, "Yo, you're stuck"? Like, what was it?
Nah, it was just like I enjoy spending my time with this person. I'm not going to waste her time. Straight up. and I told her, I was like, I'm ready for this. Are you ready for it? And she was like, yeah. I'm just like, okay, cool. Then we'll take our time. We'll go through what we have to go through that experience, and then jump the broom. Like I said, I value time. That's one thing in life you can't get back. And to me, as a man, I have to take that step forward. My wife shouldn't come to me and say, what are we doing? Like, where is this going? And that's not a knock on Dre's wife. Everybody is different. I just look at it differently for me, where it's just like, I have to make those steps. I have to be, I guess, the traditional male. So then I popped a question. I was like, do you want to get married? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, that's good. Because she could have said no. And at least,
At least it was
I did
sweating.
it. Yeah, I was sweating. Yeah, I mean, like, why wouldn't I be? If I know the value in it, and if I was just like, it's no sweat off my back, I'm gonna do whatever. Is it really worth it at that point?
Definitely.
But like I'm saying, like if you're sitting there and you're spending time with someone, a significant amount of time with them, the question is going to come up, and there's no harm in addressing it if you know what you're doing. If you're actually wasting that person's time and you know you are, then that's when you're in hot water. That's when you have that problem.
I don't agree with that, man. Because the reason why I don't agree with that is that, you know, people don't always know what they want until it's right in front of them. Like, I mean, I think, first of all, maybe your situation might be different, you know, but I do think that most people, when it comes time to approach marriage, like we may have a mindset like Dre's example, like, hey, I ultimately want to marry this girl, but you don't have a time frame. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a man thing. I do feel like maybe it's a dude thing, because I feel like I had the same, you know, mind you, me and my girl were together forever, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna marry her. Yeah, I'm gonna marry her, but she never put no pressure on me. So it's only until other people started putting pressure on me that we were like, all right, let's speed it up.
I don't know. I don't think it's a man thing, because I feel differently about it. So it's just like no one had to put the pressure on me to make that decision. Like Dre said, he like, once those boxes are checked, then you move forward.
Yeah, and just to like, my wife necessarily didn't put like, when she asked me that, I think in her head, and I'll just use her as an example, because I think for some women, I won't say for all women, but for some women, they may have an idea of, I'm this age. In my head, I thought I would be married by this age. I thought I would have children by this age. So I think some of that was necessarily, I think she knew that I cared about her and that we would get married at some point. I think that was her kind of just vocalizing it. It wasn't necessarily pressure. I don't think that if I would have told her no, I don't know if our relationship would have ended. But it's something that I definitely joke with her about all the time. I always say, like, I need to know where this is going. I say this all the time to really mess with her.
Okay, my bad. Counter that, because
but yeah. But I get what you're saying.
Not to me, because I think we're throwing a negative connotation on it a little bit. So I don't think it's negative, but like in your situation, you knew where you wanted to go. But I feel like in every relationship, there's one person that drives things to like a destination. Like, hey, you'll ultimately get there by this point. And honestly, like, let's sit down. Let me ask you a question. Because if she really never, ever said anything to you about it whatsoever, you probably wouldn't have gotten married when you got married, right?
No, I don't think so. I think we would have. No, I think we would have. I think I would
at the same time.
I was so to I guess the inverse of her. In my head, I also had this thing where I was like, I need to meet all these criteria. I need to have all these things before I get married. So there was also things that I was I had checklists. Like I have to have, I need to make this amount of money. I need to, have this many, like I had all these, I had a long list of things that I was very close to. So I had like a list. I think I also had that in my head too. I had like a list of these imaginary things that I thought that I needed to have all of those things before I was thinking about marriages, like me officially being like the provider and me being able to, fully be able to support my wife in whatever she was doing. She was kind of going through like a career change at the time. So a lot of my hesitation was just like all this mental bullshit that I had on my head about like what marriage was and like what a man had to have before you got married. So I think there was also a lot of it on me that was stopping me from doing it.
So
and then I had conversations with people
as a cultural thing, because I align with Dre in the sense that like he said, if his wife didn't ask him that question, he would have responded. And then you disagreed in the sense like, oh, well, men are just like that. They got to feel the pressure. So I'm going to bring the baby boy in the group. I'm going to look at Francis. So do you think it's like, did you feel pressure to marry your wife, or was that your own decision?
Yeah, it was definitely my decision. Like I guess for me, I've been in a few relationships. So, and for us, I kind of mentioned, some of the what happened while I was in school. So that was such a significant like milestone for me, just kind of to because I was in a phase where I wasn't looking for any kind of relationship. And she kind of came along and we both kind of like just kind of fell for each other, and things happened. But we also had a lot of, relationship issues that we had to kind of overcome as well. So for me to actually feel comfortable proposing as well. So there were things that I was also like, I guess to Dre's point, that I was also kind of observing as well, because I think we all should kind of have those mental checklists in our head when sometimes I know the notion is maybe you shouldn't have one, but I think you should, that we kind of go through. And so, so I kind of went through that. We went through that phase as well. And when I felt comfortable and I thought we were both in a good place, then that's when I popped the question. But I think we were dating long enough, I was on, family, met each other, and, we've kind of done a few travels and done a few milestones as a couple where, like, I guess the societal expectation is to get married and get engagement, So I think sometimes that does come into play as well when we as a community put that pressure on ourselves and we kind of move on to that next phase.
Yeah, so I think one of the key things you mentioned there was in regards to standards. So I guess I'll ask this. How important are standards when it comes to selecting your partner? And does your current partner match, I guess, the traits or standards you had for wifey material today compared to before you were married?
Yeah, I guess I can go. Yeah, I mean, for me, growing up in the African Nigerian specifically, also, there was an image of a wife that I kind of grew up with, like, always kind of, they threw down in the kitchen, like clean, cook, and they still like do, take care of the kids and all of this stuff. So for me, I always imagined that I was gonna have a wife that kind of, I'll come home to a spread and all of that stuff. And so, that was like, I guess for me, one of the key, checklist or standard I always thought of that I had. But, in reality, that kind of, I realized that it's not really as important, because I think those are, activities that can be shared as a couple. It doesn't have to be one person that kind of own that kind of work. And I think there's other intangibles that are more important than who like throws down in the kitchen and stuff like that. Can you trust your partner? Can you is communication and stuff like that. So
my question is, why can't you? All right, because what you're originally describing, is it like a traditional wife, and even like a traditional relationship, like husband-wife relationship. I don't think you can have that. I mean, mind you, in 2021 that we live in, you can still have that, but it's just that being
yeah,
that's what you want.
you can, but you shouldn't like lose out on a potential, like, if like I had to, when I like when my wife and I kind of when we kind of got to that level, I had to, you have to make a decision, like, what is really important to you,
Yeah.
is that important to the overall tangible that your partner brings to the table, and mind you, she does, if she does put forth effort in that space, maybe that doesn't match your exact, imagination when you kind of growing up and you kind of you see your mom or whatever, so for me, I had to, like, that became less important as I kind of got older and our relationship matured over time.
And that could also be a part, like, culturally, and maybe that's the time frame. Like, you speak of your parents, you think about a time where those gender roles were kind of like the norm. And today you see a lot of women in the workforce, some of them out earning men. And it's like, realistically, do you think a woman's going to work 8 hours and come home and cook for everyone? Like,
and to give my dad credit, just to be full disclosure, my dad was not your typical traditional man as well, because he did help in the kitchen, you know, he did take care of the kids and stuff. But like my mom was such a super woman, you know, I feel like she kind of just embodied everything that, you know, a woman, your traditional woman, I guess.
So I guess you could say there's really no 50-50. Like, it's usually someone's going to usually take in a little bit more of the responsibilities, but as long as everyone works collectively, there shouldn't be an issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's hear another take then. How important were standards to you, and does your current partner match the standards you had in mind prior to marriage?
So I don't know. For me, I think before you go into any relationship, yeah, you should always have some kind of standards of expectations. And I think anyone who's, you know, if you're not real with yourself, you're not gonna get what you want, and then you won't be happy. So you definitely got to be real with yourself with your expectations. Like, you know, like it starts physical, like how they look. You know what I mean? If they how tall they are. If they're not 6'5", you don't ask Dre. You know, you know, what I mean? 6'4". You know what I mean? So I think, first of all, you got to be real with those expectations. But then, I mean, as you kind of start meeting people, then you kind of go through your checklist and you kind of see what's really important to you. You know, some things are not as important as others. Like for me, I don't think it's a matter of stereotypes or putting people into specific boxes. But for me, I'm not the best cook. I mean, I could throw down a little bit, but I definitely like my partner that can cook, because we got to eat. You know, so that's a very important characteristic for me. You know what I mean?
You know,
so
food is very important to you.
Bro, why you always trying to call me fat? I don't know.
So you telling me you wouldn't learn how to cook?
Who says that? I didn't say I can't learn how to cook. I can cook. I mean, I'm just saying that it's not about. It's about having expectations of that person.
Sure.
And, you know, Chunky, you have a valid point. Yes, I can ultimately learn how to cook, but having a woman that knows how to cook, it conveys more than just, for me, it conveys more than, oh, she's a great culinary person. You know, she knows how to, you know, serve her community. She knows how to prepare, take care of others, because, you know, especially when my girl cooks, she usually never cooks. She don't know how to cook small. She knows how to just cook meals, grand meals for everybody. Like, it'd be Thanksgiving, it'd be just the two of us, and we got to spread for 20. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I would also assume that, and again, I don't. So hopefully, I'm not putting you out there by asking this question, but I would also assume that it's not important to your wife that you cook, right? Like, is it something where she's always like, she's not telling you like, I want you to cook for me. I want you to cook for me. Like, is she doing that?
Oh, that's funny you say that, because she does like me to cook sometimes. And she just like, but I mean, mind you, she works, you know what I mean? She works long hours. So sometimes she expects me to cook, you know, I step up, I cook. Other times I'll be real with her. Like you want me to cook? I'm not going to cook.
Okay. Hey, hey, that's real. That does happen too.
Yeah.
That's real. But I mean, I think is like having those conversations and then establishing those guidelines. I think it's a huge misconception when people are like, well, you still got the person, so you got to sacrifice this and throw all this other stuff out the window. Yes, there is sacrifice, there is compromise, but you still have your core values, and those things you should, and me personally, you can't compromise on core values, because if you compromise on core values, then you're not really being true to yourself, and then you're going to start to supplement those somewhere else.
For cooking, I think that's more so a preference than like a core value in essence, because like, it's the personality that would get you through. Like you said, some days that, you know, you two may not be able to cook, you got to order Uber Eats. And then it's a conversation about, where is this going? Are we going to order pizza, or are we going to order barbecue? So it really depends on the situation, and what works for me may not work for you and yours, and so on and so forth. So, you know, when it comes down to standards, those standards are based upon, I think you hit it on the head, like how you feel about it and what's your opinion on it. Because I can give you advice, but that advice may not work for you. You give me advice, well, I'm not you. So that's not how I approach the situation.
Exactly.
So I think everyone in their own four corners of their home creates their own environment. They do the things that work best for them. And that's how that works. So, you know, I don't know. When it comes down to standards, this is like, how do you treat me? How do you treat other people? And how do you react in a negative situation? When things go bad, how do we communicate?
So is there like a shallowness to standards? Because I know like coming as
Oh,
the
boy.
non-married, I'm not gonna say I'm saying
Yeah,
the
yeah.
non-married man of the group. Is there a standard like, okay, we talked about cooking, but it doesn't stop there, right? There's usually
No.
like other
Right.
other traits like communication and you know,
Yeah.
maybe even physical could be a
Is
standard
she a
as
baddie?
well.
Yeah.
Oh, hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I ain't trying to have no
Yeah.
ugly kids. Fuck that.
We
Oh.
we already know Chunky. We know Chunky.
Chunky is
I
not going to
think-
have ugly kids. We get it.
Exactly.
I
All
think-
kids are beautiful.
All kids are beautiful.
Anyway,
I think the standard category or categorization I think has gotten some negative stuff. You know, shout out to Kevin Samuels, right? You know, a lot of his initial things when he's talking about standards with women, he's physically talking about like their appearance and like how old they are and those things. I personally don't think there's anything wrong. So, you know, Glenn or anyone of that, if it's really important to you how someone carries themselves, how someone looks,
Yep.
then I think that should be a standard that you should have. I don't
Right.
think it should be something that you should be ashamed of, but just know that just in today's society, like people are gonna have an issue with you vocalizing that, right or wrong, right, whatever, each his own, right? You know, at the end of the day, you're going to be in that relationship. So I do think that sometimes those standards, like physical standards, are negatively criticized online. But I think I think if it's important to you, then yeah, you should
Gotta be
have
real.
that standard. You should make sure that that person already has those things, because some of those things you can't like get a person and then try to change them to have those standards. I think that's
Well,
where
you can
I think-
buy body. You can buy the physical.
Well,
You can buy
You
Well,
can buy. You can pay for it. It's
Francis,
2021, bro.
you could buy a body, but if you're not, after you get that work done, that work can easily be undone with bad diet, right? With
True.
not taking care of yourself. So
Well, yeah.
unless you got the bread to just do it
You
every
can-
time.
gotta
Yeah, they
re-up.
can, they can always suck it out, right? I mean,
Yeah. And some of
we
those
see-
surgeries
yeah.
are highly dangerous. You know, I know
True.
there's some women who are going to other countries to get it done for a discount and not making it up off the table. So, but yeah, I think sometimes standards are negatively like criticized if that is something that's important to you, or if you know, to Francis, if it was really important that his partner to be cooked every day, he would have made that. I would have hoped that he would have made that very clear in the beginning. If there was something where it was like, look, this is a non-negotiable for me. Same thing for
Definitely.
D Black. I'm sure if
Exactly.
your wife before you got married was like, look, it's really important to me if you cook one day a week, I'm sure you would do it. Just me knowing the type of person you are, you would make a way to do it. You would learn, you would do whatever, right? But I guess that's how I see it from my side. 'Cause I think sometimes
and-
standards are negative, but they are positive. So yeah, Glenn, there's nothing. Let your let your standard flag fly if you know if you're doing that, because I do see that there are some people who
Facts.
are scared
Facts.
to say it, but that's kind of like today's society. You
Because
can't.
because I think that's where the compromise also come in play. Because that's kind of like because my wife also realized, you know, she knew how important that was to me. So one of the compromise we came into is like, okay, we'll split cooking, you know. So we both are responsible for cooking. So like, and the days that we can do it, and we kind of do what Chunky does, and we just order and we go somewhere and eat out. So it is what it is, you know. And the thing is, there's other things that they bring to the table that are key intangibles that, you know, if how the relationship they have with your boys and how they interact with your family, like how the relationship, can you guys sit around and talk about sport, you know, stuff like that, you know, some other girls are missing that, you know, that person brings to the table. So it's really kind of when you get in that relationship, then you have to examine what is really important and what makes you happy in that relationship. And if that is that good enough for you. If it's not, then you need to look elsewhere.
Because
I just want to know, Mr. Rubber Waistline, like we over here as married men talking. Sorry, Mr. Rubber Waistline, but I'm just curious. Does Mr. Rubber Waistline require a rubber waistline?
I mean, essentially, what my relationship, it's like, or any of the relationships that I would find myself in a long-term position, the sex has to be on point. You know what I mean? Because honestly, intimacy is a big part of the affection in the relationship. And I'm not saying, she has to be like porn star level as soon as we meet. You know what I mean? But with all things, like a requirement for me or one of my standards, I would say someone that's willing to learn, negotiate, discuss, compromise, and
Mhm.
try to make things work. So I mean, I like to give good sex, so I want to get good sex. So it's kinda,
Just
it's
just
kinda
don't
like-
just don't drop the L word while you
Spoken like a non-married man.
I mean, we're
Just
gonna
don't
get
drop-
into
just
get into
don't-
some of the hit or
That's
misses
funny.
too. Wait, go ahead, Francis.
I was just making fun of you because remember what episode was that when you dropped the love when you say you love
Yeah,
him
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man.
near strokes.
Oh, okay.
I was
But-
like, just don't do that while you're in pumping.
Oh no, I mean, I also think that men shouldn't just slay everything. Slay with some
Uh.
intent. Like at least try to, don't waste anyone's time out here. So I would say part of the physical thing too is like that physical is also a representation of how you care for yourself. Also, I'm not saying men
Mhm.
should go out and measure everyone's, breast and bust size. Say, hey, you got to be about 7 inches before I can talk to you. It's just let's be
I
realistic.
mean, but
with
like,
your
what's
standards.
the issue in that, right? So to take it to another level, it's like if that's your preference, that's your preference. So you're telling
Yeah.
people like, okay, this is what I want, but I'm going to settle on something that's like, well, I guess I'll take it. So if you're that superficial, where it's just like the breast size has to be this or the dick size has to be that, then that's on you. And that's what makes the defining moment in whether or not you marry that person. But there's nothing
think-
wrong with having that in essence. Like, this is what I want. Like, I'm not going to get chocolate vanilla swirl to settle if I really want chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, I just think it's a little superficial, honestly, because it's just like, okay, you're gonna measure a person's, parts and everything like that to get an idea. And I mean, that could be your standard, but I think you're just gonna be searching for a very, very long time.
Or you may not find
Because
nobody.
you may not find that person. So
Yeah, right.
essentially, you're going to be going around wanderlessly, just like, hey, okay, she didn't have the 7 inches, she didn't have the 12, he didn't have the 9 foot. You know what I mean? Realistically, those things don't really matter because at the end of the day, we all age, we all get old. 7 inches ain't always gonna be 7.
And then you
Nine
get a
is always
dog
gonna be
and
9.
die alone.
Exactly.
Yo,
Some,
and
some
mean-
people's sex isn't everything, right? So some people's
Yeah.
sex is not like, for some people, you're talking about like love languages and stuff like that. It
Mhm.
seems like Mr. Rubber Waistline physical touch is very high on his
Facts.
list. Have you ever done that questionnaire, Glenn?
Nah,
The
I
love
haven't
language?
done
I'll send you the link, but basically it's just like a simple questionnaire, and it basically tells you like what you need from your partner and what they need from you or whatever. And I think it's 5 love languages, and one of them is physical touch. So I would assume yours is
Oh, yeah,
your
that's up there.
primary thing is physical touch,
That's up there.
but maybe your partner's is something else.
Touch.
I think it's like acts of
Oh, no,
service.
please don't.
I can't remember all of the things, but
It's like
for some people,
appreciation.
appreciation,
Yeah.
gifts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can't remember the other. There's like one more, but you should definitely do the test. But yeah, to some people, intimacy is also not sex. To some people, intimacy is like holding hands or
Yeah.
sitting next to each other on the couch. There's a whole wide range of
Act
Yeah.
of service. That's the last one because
acts of
that's
service. Yeah.
that's one of my.
All right, so let's get into like 2 more points before we jump into the hit or miss. Pros and cons to being married. Like, what were some of the trials and error or the learning experiences into the marriage life? Like, I know one of the things I've heard is, seeing a woman use the bathroom or seeing her get ready is like one of the things that most men are just like, what is going on? Like, I didn't know this was all going on behind the scenes. So what were some of your guys like
Like, how do
learning
you-
experiences, pros and cons, things like that?
like, how do you not know that? So like, I agree with Dre. Like, you kind of have to move in with the person before
Yeah.
you get married to them. Some people may be against that, but like when you get to see someone every day and go through everything with them, then you have a better
Yeah.
understanding of who they are. If you're always coming over my place, I'm going over your place, I don't know who you really are 24/7. So you're still
Mhm.
putting on a facade to me. But when I wake up next to you in the morning and you're wearing those fake eyelashes or you have weave and all that other stuff, like I gotta find that out. To me, I like natural look,
Yeah.
right? But there's nothing wrong with eyeliner, there's nothing wrong with lipstick and a little bit of makeup on. But if everything is fake, like nah. like,
Or you learn, or you get to learn their little quirks, right? Like,
Yeah.
do they put the toilet paper back on the dispenser, right? Like if they grab a new roll,
Oh
like do
my
they put it back on, or
gosh.
do they just put it on top of the roll, right?
So you're evil.
Like,
So that's an
you
evil
learn-
person. That's an evil human being.
Look,
Puts it
I
back.
will not confirm or deny that, D Black, but yes. But yeah, so to me, I think it's important to live with the person. Again, I'm not saying you have to follow the rules, but I think when you live with the person, you get to learn all those things. So Glenn, you'll get to understand if it bothers you if she farts, right? Or if you knew that she just took a shit, right? You'll find that out. But but for men who have those type of things, like women are people, right? Your partners are people. They do all the same things you do, right? They are flatulent, right? They have to use the bathroom. They have to get ready.
Women
right?
use the bathroom?
Roses really smell like.
I thought they fart roses.
Look, man, well, get
Just
another,
goes
get
into another
another
dimension.
bathroom. Yeah, just get another bathroom and put some what's that spray called? Poopery or whatever that you could spray in the toilet that it goes away, right? Maybe you have to do that, but I highly recommend living with someone so you can learn all of their how they pay bills, right? You may see that, hey, why is there a pink letter in the mail once a month, right? Are you forgetful on paying your bills, right? You learn all these things by
That's called a love card.
Yeah.
Called a macaroni heart.
Yeah, or if you share a car, right? Like she never puts gas in the car, right? You know, those type of things.
Knowledge.
You know, it's all of those things that you get to learn. Again, not everyone goes through that. I know there's some people who kind of, from like a religious perspective, they don't believe in kind of living together before they're married. But I just know it's been really helpful for me in understanding.
I think there's even like some stats out there that say like cohabitating before can usually lead to like, usually doesn't allow you to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Less likely to get married.
Yeah.
Less likely to get married. And so I guess, it's a good
you
point.
kind of weed them out.
That could be a good thing. Yeah, that could be a good thing. That could be that.
Or they
it
weed
saves-
you out.
saves-
That part.
Because I mean, let's say if I'm not ready to move in somewhere, there are other ways I can do that. Like I would say, like one thing I like to do was like travel with the person and get an idea of how they navigate and function, especially in other settings that we're not familiar with. And then that gives us an even plane to be like, okay, how do you act? How do you react? How is it with you? You know, how do you share, split things, and things like that? That's another way somebody could potentially.
I don't think there's anything that can compare to living with somebody. Nothing.
I think he can get 50%. I think he can get about 50% of the picture, especially if you go on like a vacation longer than a week. I think you can probably get. But yeah, I think you're probably only getting 50%.
I mean,
Glenn. I
I'm gonna
still
say
think
time
there's
frame,
some things that you're
is-
gonna find out. You're gonna be like, yo, I had no idea that you did this.
Right.
And I can tell I love you because this drives me crazy, but I know that you do it. And I'm either going to ask you to change it if it really bothers me, or just be like, you know what, this is what I'm getting in the thing, right? And there's also things that you do too. There's also things that you do as well that, like, you know, my wife's like, you know, you always seem to, like, when you throw in your socks in the hamper, sometimes you miss and you don't pick it up. Like you just let
you
it
put
go
your socks
or
in a
whatever.
hamper?
You know, yeah, I'm not a savage.
So Chucky's a savage.
Wait, what am I supposed to do with my socks?
Take them off and leave them there. Leave them
Where were
there.
you at? Oh, see, that wouldn't. I think my wife would have an issue with that. So that's what I'm saying. You also learn the things about you that you do as well.
Yeah, they'll let you know.
Yeah, I still think even though when you live with them, even when you live with somebody, yeah, you do learn a lot about them. But I don't know. Once you're married, for me, I still think that there's still another level that kind of snaps in there because, like, you know, like my wife, like some things changed and maybe just like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like maybe it was just like in her head, like we're married and now it clicked and now it's a little bit different in her head, you know, and even for me too, like, I don't know. I always kind of approached it like we were always married, even though we weren't married.
there is a legit, you automatically get like a seal of like legitimacy or approval from the outside world. Like you're married, this isn't just your girlfriend. There is a difference, and I thought that too before we got married. But yes, there is some things that change once you're married, because there are.
So I guess weighing all those pros and cons, I get to our last discussion point before we get into the hit or miss, which would be a blitz. Is marriage for everyone? Would you recommend it?
Oh, hell no.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be frank because, you know, what's his name? A lot of people may not remember this, but like when Dennis Rodman married himself, you know, some people just love themselves and they're just about being themselves, and that's fine. Or another one is like, if you like, again, being real with your expectations of what you want, and if no one meets those expectations and you want to keep those expectations there, then as my man K. Samuels would say, you get a dog and die alone.
Facts.
So I mean,
D Black Samuels over here.
oh my
We're
god,
gonna have to update his profile.
You should give $1 to him every time you mention him.
Oh god! All right, I'm gonna stop name dropping. I'm gonna stop name dropping, bro.
You must get an invoice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I guess to quickly answer, I guess if I have to choose one or the other, I'll say no, it's not for everyone. But I do believe that humans do need a life partner. So whether that's marriage or whatever, I do think it's really important to have a partner, however you deem that, whether you decide to get married or you just decide to not. But I do think a partnership with someone is a really special relationship.
Or dog partner.
I guess.
No, where you can have intimacy with. So we don't break no laws over here, D Black. You can't.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
Legal in Texas.
Oh god.
Yes.
Some states, relationships with animals can transcend.
Don't start nothing. We can't.
I'm not
we
saying
can't
I know
finish.
which ones they are.
What?
I guess any other takes on that, Francis? or
No, I was just
Chance?
gonna say I'm saying the same thing. I think it's like college or even having kids, because there are people out there who don't want to have kids or go to
a good one.
college. So it's like the same thing applies here. Like Dre said, I do, because you can have domestic partners and you can still get the same emotional support and some of the stuff that we talked about, the benefit of being married in a domestic relationship. I think some of the benefit you get in a marriage kind of gets into, when you start talking about like, taxes and that, more legal stuff, and I know there's been a lot of fight in that space as well. So, but yeah, that's where I think the marriage comes, the benefit of being married, but I don't think you actually have to be married to be in love or go through all of those stuff that we talked about.
All right, and Chunks, any last words on that?
I have nothing to add. I mean, everyone hit it on the head pretty much. Marriage isn't for everybody. If it's for you, definitely go for it. If it's not for you, don't go for it. Big whatever advice, if you want to try it out, don't. Because that's not right to the other person. So that's it.
And if all else fails, marry the good Lord. He got your back. All right, so let's get into hit or miss. So this is a brief statement about what hit or miss is. So basically, I'm going to ask our married members of the panel common misconceptions about marriage for their insight. They're all designated for particular people in a random order. So we'll give room for that person to answer, and then it could be interjections. All right. So let's get to the first one, and this is aimed for D Black.
Oh,
You shouldn't marry someone your friends or family do not approve of. What's your take?
Ay. That's, oh my gosh. Nah, that's a miss. That's a that's a miss.
Why is that?
Okay, you want to do why? That's hard. That's hard for me. The reason, can I say why that's hard or no?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. The reason why it's hard is because like I value family relationships a lot. So having someone that can get along with my family is important. I don't know, but you said the key thing is that your family approves of. So it's really not their call though. As long as they can get along with them, in a nice professional setting, then hi bye or ekaro-san,
Hi bye.
be cordial, I think then
All right, so it's not necessarily the key requirement. I mean, reality is people are people. At the end of the day, you're marrying the person, right?
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. As long as they make you happy, that's what's the most important part though.
All right, so there's no interjections. Francis, you're next. A marriage should not be work. What's your take?
That's a miss. I think marriage is work. It's a daily action. Love is a verb, and I think you have to constantly work at it and show your love to your partner and your commitment. So,
all right, next one. I'll lose my individuality if I get married. Chunks, what's your take?
No, you still remain who you are.
Okay. That.
So that's
All right.
a miss.
That's a miss. Yep. Next one will be for Dre. Married couples do not have good sex and lack romance.
I think that is a miss. I know that there is a misconception that once you get married you don't have sex. But from what I understand, it's normally if you wasn't having sex before you were married, then you're probably not having sex when you're married, right? I think that's a misconception. I think the biggest tip I have with that, pun intended, right? The biggest tip I have is I think if sex is important to you, then you need to make that very clear to your spouse.
The rate will change.
Yeah, you know, I think you need to, nothing's going to change without you kind of speaking for it. So if you're not having sex and you want to have sex, you need to talk to your partner, and hopefully you marry someone who you can have these type of adult conversations with. And it's cool, right? You guys can just kind of get through it like anything else.
So it's that one thing, because sex is very important to me.
Sure,
is there such thing as too much sex in a relationship?
I think that depends. I think that depends on your partner.
If they waistline is not rubber, and they get sore.
You know, I'm gonna, since I've been
She
married
won 10 rounds.
I was gonna say since I've been married the longest, I'll put myself out there. I'll put myself out there. I'm old, man. I'm only going one round. Like I'm not.
My knees buckling.
I'm not. My wife and I have been together for over 11 years. So what I was doing 11 years ago, whatever. I'll just say that I'm only going one round, right? And my wife seems to be okay with that. Yeah, my knees, my back. If I just ate too close to the act itself, sometimes I get
so
a
it's
pain
just like
on my
swimming?
side. It's like swimming. But yeah, I
You gotta
don't
wait 30 minutes.
sometimes.
Hold on, baby girl. Hold on.
I'm a little older, man.
My stomach's still full. My stomach's still full.
Yeah, I'm like an Oldsmobile. You got to turn the key just right. You got to warm it up before you just hit the road. You can't just be out here.
I'm about to die.
But yeah, Glenn, I would say you of all people, yes, you and your wife to be, whenever that happens, yeah, you that needs to be clear before you're married, right? Because that's probably what's gonna.
You see how these hips move?
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, maybe that's something that you probably got to drop in your vows. I think you're gonna have to go the extra mile, Glenn, to make that very clear to your.
That is so funny.
So we gonna stay in shape. You know what I mean? It's important.
Yeah, that's one way.
All right, so let's get to the next. So that's like probably a hit and or miss depending on the situation. But Francis, I can carry the social life I had before marriage into my marriage. Hit or miss?
Yeah, I think that's a hit. Because I think it depends. That's where it's important for your wife to have some to be compatible in some space. If you like sport, and your wife enjoy sport, you guys can still enjoy that. If you like to go out and you like to go out, you can still enjoy that. But I think there's a space where, if maybe you don't do as much of it as you maybe used to before you got married. For example, if you're a video game person and you maybe play video game 10 hours a day or 10 hours a week, maybe that hours may have to be 2 hours a week or 2 hours a day. So, but I still think you can maintain that lifestyle into your marriage life.
Wow, 80% reduction? That's crazy.
What?
80% reduction? That's crazy.
Well, I'm just throwing. I'm not saying. I don't play video games. So I don't know how important 2 hours is to 10 hours. But
if you was king, slay them all. You can still keep your black book of potential slaves. I mean, I'm serious. Like if I had 10 women on standby before, and it's like,
I'm not talking. I'm talking about actual.
Let Glenn. Let him answer that.
Yeah.
Let him answer that.
No, that's not for me.
How does it work for you?
That's
How
not
are you
for
gonna
me.
do?
That's not for me.
no,
That's
it's
for the
to you.
married men.
That's to you.
Well, I mean,
you're
for me personally,
married, right?
I would say I'm pretty much in the ranks. I'm in training. You know what I mean? So I would say, basically, I can't have all the 10 ladies before in the past or my little black book of friends to call for a nightcap. That all has to go away. I decided
You reduce it by 80%.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that should have stopped before you got married.
Well, there's some marriages that have that have that are polyamorous, that allow certain things to happen on the side. To each his own.
Make sure you
But
talk
I think
about
for
it
the
before.
four, but I think for the
before.
I think for the men who are married on this podcast, we are only entertaining our wives. We don't have no blacklist. If those things ever existed, they were vanished the moment we met. There's none of that. There's no memories. There's no thoughts of anyone we've ever been with before them.
Thank you, Dre.
Yeah, leave it.
We all got
leave it at
ODs.
that.
We all got ODs. I'm tired.
Yeah,
I
we old
was a
men.
virgin before I met my wife. I never had sex with anyone before I was a virgin. That's where I'm. That's where I'm.
Yeah, that's
saying.
what he's saying.
Yeah, that's the.
That's your story. Stick with it.
So,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
sounds like
that's
a
the
hit or miss depending on the standards. Like, fellas, you're not going to go clubbing again every night. You know what I mean? Once you're married, there's no way you can give time to a person and your social life if it's that extreme at the same time.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
still play video games, which I do.
Yeah, of course, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to cut it down by a number that's okay with your wife. You know.
No, so like
you talk about
it.
you agree, right? So we had this conversation. We agreed on amount of time that's like feasible. So there is a balance. I don't know if it's necessarily like, oh, I have to make the reduction. It's more so like, all right, well, if I want a game for 10 hours out of the week, then it's 5 hours on Saturday, 5 hours on Sunday. The entire week is hers, or it's 2 hours a day for 5 days. Like, I'm still going to meet my objective at the same time, meet my responsibilities as a husband. So you kind of figure it out. It's not like, oh, I can't game anymore. Like, that's my way of hanging out with all of you where we're not on this. So it's very healthy to maintain your friendships with the people that are closest to you, and your significant other should and will understand that.
All right. Okay, so since we're on it, then Chunks, the next one's for you. My spouse or partner is the only support system I'll need. Hit or miss?
Yes.
Oh,
Hit.
all right, and can you explain? how?
Damn, we just shot the whole crew down.
You say yes.
Full
So
stop. He's just like,
if all of you, it's to me, it's very important that, you know, my wife is my best friend, and there are going to be certain things that we have to go through together, in which that she's going to have to be that support system. And yeah, she's the only thing that I need in order to move forward. And there's a lot of things behind that, and that's okay. I'm not saying like, oh, well, she's telling me I can't hang out with you, she's telling me I can't be with my friends. That's not the case. Y'all will forever be there, but she is one of the strongest support systems that I have, because she deals with me on the everyday basis. So if that foundation isn't
She
fundamentally
deserves
sound,
everything in the world.
no, you're right, she does.
Like,
Hey,
wife to the wife-
yo, like any woman does for dealing with a lot of us men, right?
wife
They
to the
deserve-
angriest black man in the world.
She has to be the angriest black woman, right?
An even angrier woman. So are there any challenges to that? I mean, we have a lot
nah,
of
man, that's messed up. I'm hurt. You
Like,
know
get
what?
over
Because
it.
all right, because here's my thing. Because I feel like, and just to make sure I heard the question right, you said only thing you ever need. It doesn't do. It just, I mean, not to, whatever, not challenging your relationship, but at the end of the day, yeah, she's important, and she holds that level of significance that I cannot hold. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lay next to you. I ain't gonna make no baby with you.
I mean,
But
you laid next to me.
nah, don't do that. Don't do that. First of all, it was during football times. We was in a crowded room. We shared beds, man. All right, so,
Oh man, is that a story y'all trying to share or what?
bruh,
Nah,
man,
not that one.
not that.
Nope.
Go ahead,
None of us
D.
similar
He had
to
a
it.
challenge on
No, but I'm just saying, but like, only thing you'll ever need, now that I disagree with, because at the end of the day, like, even when y'all have disagreements, sometimes it's hard to like resolve those disagreements within a cell. Sometimes you need to expand out that cell. Whether not saying it's even me, maybe go to a counselor, you know, get a relationship counselor, you know, talk to, you know, the parents, talk to her best friend, talk to your best friend. Like, you need other pieces to get different sounding boards to come back to the relationship. Now, now having that, when you get married, that person becomes your core. I'm not saying that they don't become your core, but as in the only thing you'll ever need, nah, I disagree with that. You know what I mean? Because everything you bring to the relationship enhances that relationship.
Yeah.
It doesn't devalue that relationship. It doesn't mean that because you say no to that answer, doesn't mean that person's less important. You know, you can tell me to kick rocks. If it comes between me and her, yeah, tell me to kick rocks. But as you tell me that I'm not needed at all for you, then please do not call me.
Hey,
she ate all the damn peanut butter.
What I said.
she ate all the
And
peanut
I
butter.
have to deal with that. And I got to deal with that, right? That's not what I said whatsoever. But take it how you take it.
All right. So let's get to the next one, D. And you're on a roll. So let's get back to you.
Oh damn.
Once married, I can change my spouse into the ideal partner. Hit or miss?
No, because I mean, ultimately, you should come to the table with what you already want. Obviously, life is about compromises. Nobody gets everything they want. Just like you get a car or anything else in life, it doesn't come with everything you want. And if it does have everything you want, it's a unicorn. It's not real. So, accept them for who they are. And
all right. Any challenges to that?
No challenge, but I do believe in that 80-20 rule, right? I think you're really going to get 80, hopefully more than 80%, but with some relationships, right, you're going to get 80% of what you want. I think you also learn what you want may not always be, you may not, once you get it, there's that be careful what you wish for thing. You gotta be careful for it. So
that sounds like a miss. So Dre, let's get back to you then. Happy wife, happy life. Hit or miss?
So I was actually told happy house or happy spouse, happy house. So to try to make it more specific to both partners. So I think it can be true, happy wife, happy life, but I would also assume that my wife would also want me to be happy to also have a good life. So I'll say hit with the caveat that you also need to bring the happiness if you're so for the husbands, right? You need to your wives need to make sure you're happy for you to have a happy life as well. So
yeah, I agree.
No challenges there?
Nah, 2021. Everybody gotta make everybody happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to be happy too, man. We need to be hugged.
Yeah.
I need to be cuddled sometime. I want to be the little spoon sometimes,
Facts, that part.
Biggest little spoon. So let's go to Francis. Married women are required to change their last names. Hit or miss?
Man, you trying to get me in trouble.
You African too, so you gotta be careful with this one.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say hit, bro. But I understand what I just said. But I understand the flexibility with that in the society that we live in nowadays, and how people want the right to choose if they want to do that or not. But I know some of the workaround people have been doing right now is you can hyphenate your name, your last name, and your new husband last name. I don't know. I mean, for me, I think you should keep the new. You should change it. That's what I know. I'll be hurt if my wife doesn't change her last name, so that is something that I would definitely hit different, But so I would say it's a hit.
Make sure you talk about that now. Maybe back in the day, you
say,
didn't talk about it. Maybe back like our parents, older generations, maybe they didn't talk about it because they felt it was automatic.
Yeah. It's definitely a conversation nowadays. Yeah, it is a conversation now. I would definitely say it's a hit.
So no hyphenations or anything like that, just straight.
I would prefer. For me, I think it should be changed the way it was meant to be. But it is a conversation that should be had.
All right. So here's another sticky one then. For D, married men are required to be the breadwinners.
No, I don't agree with that. No, mind you, that's a miss for me because I don't really believe in traditional gender roles. Obviously, like a lot of my ideologies align with traditional gender roles.
I was like cooking.
But it's just like a coincidence that that's just how I align. But that doesn't mean that if she makes way more money than me. I know we were talking about like the OnlyFans and all that other game show like from last season. If she's making a hella bread on OnlyFans and I don't got work, I'll be like, thank you. I quit. I'm good.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that 1 second.
Nah, because I do. No, and here's why. Here's the reason why, Dre. Because at the end of the day, like, I guess I'm fortunate to do what I like, but I don't think I necessarily do what I love. And in the science field that I would really like to be in, it's not a lucrative area at all. Like academic research is not lucrative at all. So I would prefer to do that. If she's making hella bread and I could just, go invent something or cure something, I'd prefer to do that. You know what I mean?
No. I didn't hear that part. I just heard you. I was in my head hearing that you was just gonna be like in the tub, like, with your Jello, like enjoying your wife being rich. So as long as you're saying that you're gonna be doing something that time, I believe you. But I was thinking you was joking about being just like someone just sitting on the couch not doing anything. And I
wouldn't mind being a stay-at-home dad though. Shoot.
That's a job. That's a
full-time job.
Thing.
That's a full-time job. Don't sleep on those people.
Yeah,
But
hey, sign me up for that too. Sign me up.
Repeating yourself all day. All right, so last one's for Dre. Marriage should resemble the wedding day. Hit or miss?
That is a miss. From my experience and other people's experiences of the wedding day, it's always a chaos filled, at least again in my experience, a chaos filled endeavor. I think sometimes families get weird around marriage time. I think I had a conversation with someone right before they got married on this podcast where I was basically telling them like, hey, your family's gonna be acting crazy right leading up to it. It's just gonna, I don't know how to explain it. So yeah, to me, no, I don't believe that it should, I don't think that necessarily if you have a terrible wedding day, then you're going to have a terrible marriage or vice versa, just because you have a good wedding day. I don't think it necessarily automatically ensures that you're going to have a great marriage, because marriage is like anything else. Marriages are like plants and flowers, right? They need water, they need sun, they need all these things. So the wedding day could be important, but I think for the most part, how you go into the marriage is what's going to make it be successful, and what you're going to kind of continue to do every day, as I think Francis mentioned earlier.
All right, wise words. Any challenges? Any support? All in allegiance?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Nailed it.
Well, you heard it from us. Let's hear from you. For more content or to learn what our next topic will be, please check us out at JJC Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Podcast episodes drop every Wednesday. Stay tuned for the outro coming right after this to learn additional ways to reach us and send us your feedback. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. See you all again next week.
Wait, I have a question.
Oh,
Wait,
what up?
Glenn, when you get married?
Soon.
Here we out.
Bye. And that concludes today's episode, but that doesn't mean the conversation has to end. As a matter of fact, feel free to check us out at JJC Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter for our post-discussion question following the release of this episode. If you are a Black or minority business owner or professional that would like to be featured on the Rep Yours segment of our show, or a listener with some general feedback for the podcast panel, feel free to shoot us an email at jjcpod@gmail.com. As always, likes and comments are always appreciated. Be sure to subscribe or follow to be notified when the next episode releases. And until then, stay safe, stay blessed, peace.